everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of May Google Be With You. Today we are going to pump up the jam with Jamboard. This is my favorite new Google tool simply because it is a remote learning treasure. Not only can we create amazing frames for students to be able to respond to and demonstrate their learning with post-it notes, images, and inking, it's an absolutely powerful teaching tool when it comes to be able to using remote learning and some of our online video meetings, especially when we need a whiteboard. Now, Jamboards can be completely independent with individual copies, or of course they can be collaborative with students being able to work together on the same copy. Just keeping in mind that that takes a little bit of practice. So I'm going to take you through the basics of Jamboard, and there's going to be a bonus video on the same page after this one where you can see how the app has a few extra features that the browser doesn't have. So just so you know, Jamboard is 100% free, is completely connected to your Google Drive, and can be done in any browser. But of course, if you've got that mobile device, it just extends the awesome by being able to do a couple of extra things. So my recommendation to you is have both. So we're going to jump right into a jam. Now, if you want to play along with this video, on this website below the video, I have a link to a copy of a jam so you can follow along the video, pause, try the things I'm showing you, and play along with the fun. So let's see what we can come up with inside of our Jamboard. So hopefully you have a copy of our master Jamboard. I'm going to take you through some of the most important features when you're creating your different frames. So first of all, every single slide you see, that's actually called a frame. You can navigate through your frames along the top. Each Jamboard can have a maximum of 20 frames inside of it. First and foremost, you can use your Jamboard in either the web browser by going to jamboard.google.com to see all of your recent jams or to make a new one. Or of course, you can use the iPad app. We like being able to have both because the app does just a little bit more. Now, if you want to be able to start a Jamboard, you can see that you can do it here in two different ways. I can simply maybe launch that from my waffle. I can, of course, launch it in my Google Drive because that's where Jamboards actually live. Or, of course, I can go to jamboard.google.com. So let me show you what that looks like. So I can launch a new Jamboard simply by being able to go to my waffle in a new tab, and I'll see Jamboard. You might have to scroll down a little to see it, but it'll be there waiting for you. The other place I can find it is going to my Google Drive, choosing the folder I'd like my Jamboard to be in, and then saying New, More, and I'll find Jamboard. The other thing I can do is just go to jamboard.google.com because that's going to be the chronological listing of all of my recent Jamboards. Keeping in mind, Jamboards are stored in your Google Drive. This is just a great way to view them. Or of course, if you look for that plus button in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll be able to make a new jam. First and foremost, we want to tell you about sticky notes. So easy to be able to add sticky notes on a page. This is fantastic for brainstorming, mind mapping, and just even giving directions. You can add a sticky note just by clicking the sticky note button or Control-Shift-P, and it'll give you the note that you can write. Once I'm done typing, one of the things I'll notice is I can, of course, change the color of whatever I want my post-it note to be. As soon as I hit save, it'll throw it on the page, and it'll give me another opportunity to keep writing my notes. If I don't want any color for my Jamboard, I can choose no color, and that essentially will just put text on the page. When I'm done, of course, I can drag out my Jamboard sticky note. I can pull that corner to make it as big as I want. Of course, I can duplicate it simply by saying Control-D, or I can click the three dots that are on top of the sticky note and choose Duplicate. I can edit that note, and if I want at any time, I can delete it. So such a great way just to be able to organize by adding some sticky notes to things. Now, inking is one of the most wonderful features about Jamboard because we can actually ink in real time right here on these frames. Now, there's going to be a separate video showing you the extra features that you can do with inking when it comes to the app, especially being able to do the assistive text and the assistive shapes. But inking is super easy just right here in the browser. And so I can select my pen, I can select the style of pen that I want, whether that's a highlighter, a marker, a pen, and even the colors that I'm looking for. And of course, I would be able to write simply right here in my browser. Now, if you are not comfortable being able to ink inside the browser with your mouse, lots of people feel that way. So you want to know Trish's pro tip trick? I have Jamboard open inside my browser, just like I have here for you, but I also have it open on my iPad. So what I'm doing is I'm actually inking with a stylus on my iPad or my finger at the same time. So if I'm inside of a virtual meeting with my students or I'm filming a video, you're actually seeing me do the inking on my iPad because I personally find it easier, and it's just simply being recorded in the browser. It's kind of my magic trick that I do. Now, if you are inside the browser, another magic trick for you is if you hold down the shift button while you're inking, that's a straight line, my friends. Let me show you what that looks like. So in here, if I hold down shift and I ink, straight line right here, and suddenly I can make graphic organizers in seconds for kids to be able to organize with. Now, if I was on my iPad, you'd also be able to see me in here inking along with you. And so I'm on my iPad right now at the same time. I'm going to grab another color so you can see the difference. I'm going to go ahead and use a red marker. And you can see how easily I'm able to ink. I can circle things, point to things, check off things, right here in real time, making it so easy to whiteboard in front of our students. Now, of course, if I was using my iPad, which I am right now, I do get some assistive drawing tools. I can start being able to write words, and you're going to see them snap into typing instantly. That also applies to Assistive Shapes, which is fantastic for math. And now I can create these shapes in seconds to be able to use with my students. Now, adding images has never been easier. Not only can we have static images for students to be able to look at or ink over top of, but I can simply add some images. Perhaps I want to be able to use something such as some math manipulatives. In here, of course, I can upload images, but I love the Google image search feature. I can go look for a toonie, and I'm even going to add PNG, meaning I'm looking for a transparent image to be able to put on my page for my students. Now that I have my image on my page, I have some options I can do. I can copy that image, Control C. I can paste that image, Control V. But one of my favorites is to duplicate that image with Control D and make as many as I want for students to be able to use. You can have some fun making some really great manipulatives this way. Now, on all of our pages, we've given you some examples of what you could do for students, such as having images, perhaps of some textbook problems that you want the students to be able to ink over top of. Here you can see examples where we have base 10 blocks as well as money, and teaching the students the Control D, where they can duplicate to be able to represent this type of number. You can see how here we found images of a ruler, a clock face, and a protractor. Students can ink over top of these to be able to solve the problem. And as well, because of these are manipulative pieces, this is a great opportunity for students simply to be able to move them around and use them. So if I was to come here with my inking, I'll go back to my pen. I could come over top of here and I can have students ink on the clock. I could create different angles on here or find pictures on here of different pieces. And now my students would be able to take this protractor, drag this along, and be able to use it to measure the angles and record that right on here. They could even screencast their responses. Same would apply to the ruler. Imagine putting some images on the page. I could measure this Post-it note, and suddenly we've got math coming to life. Here you can see how we created some word family manipulatives simply by using Post-it notes. And now the students can create those words. We can label different photographic images. We could even create a timeline using ink and images. Imagine how easy this is. I know that I can create a straight line by choosing my pen, using Shift, creating that line, and now I could go ahead and add Post-it notes in images for each different point of the timeline I'm trying to create. Now, are you ready for some unlimited graph paper? Just know on any frame, you can change the background. I can select graph paper, I can select line paper, and more, and I can simply use this over and over and over again for student practice. There's more. Don't forget, with any one of your frames, you can duplicate or reorder them. If I want to reorder frames, I go up to the top and I can simply move them around. Perhaps here on my line paper page, I want to be able to duplicate this to have more for students. I click the three dots, I can say duplicate, and now I have more. Keeping in mind that you're only able to have 20 frames inside of one jam. So such an easy way to be able to organize. Now, when it comes to sharing a jam, Google Classroom is the way to do it because you can have students be able to edit the same one or make a copy right there. So I'm here inside of my Google Classroom. I'm going to create an assignment. I'm going to give my assignment a title. I would give it some instructions. And when I add, it's going to search my Google Drive, and I'm going to be able to add my recent files, including my math jam. So now I have a choice when I attach that Google Jam. Instead of having students view the file, I can actually make a copy for each student, or of course I could allow the students to collaboratively edit the file together. Now, if you've got more than 20 students in your class, you may want to consider, because they can't each have their own frame, to assign it to small groups of students. Maybe I'll have Christy, Sally, and Maria. They're going to be working on this particular file, and then I could do it again for other groups of students right here inside of my classroom. So such an easy way just to be able to have students have their own copy of a math jam. Now, just like I did for you today, they could have their own copy while you are projecting and inking on your master copy inside of a video meeting, just like I'm doing right now. So that's the basics of Jamboard. It really is so much fun and so easy to do for students, such a fantastic way for them to demonstrate their learning. Now, I will have a bonus video below this one on our website that talks about the differences of the app. So again, things like being able to add photos from your camera roll, being able to have PDFs that we can pop out on the frame, be able to ink over top of or highlight over top of, and as well as that assistive text makes the app absolutely worth it. And I personally like having both. So thanks for tuning in today for our episode. And just know on the bottom of this video on our site, we also have some bonus jams for you to be able to make copies of from our very own Google Ninja, Devin Austin, who simply loves to be able to contribute and share. If you make a cool math jam, make sure you share it with me so we can celebrate the amazing things that you are doing too. We hope this episode works out well for you, and I can't wait to see you all pump up the jam in our May Google Be With You world. See you all tomorrow.